Hi guys. Good morning for the folks in US and good evening for the folks in India. My name is Murali, and we have for the next 1 hour, probably 45 minutes for the session and 15 minutes for question answer on using generative AI to have a blueprint for entrepreneurs particularly, and focus a little bit more on the civil engineering and construction opportunities, if you will. That is the focus area. So with that, let's start. And um, the key points about GenAI, let me quickly go into that. I have quite a bit of material to cover. The material I've shared it in the WhatsApp group. You will be able to get it, download it, and use it. So the key things about generative AI is one thing to focus is the velocity of outcome, the speed at which you are able to generate the output, whether it is text, programming, audio, video, anything that is an output for the GenAI tool. The screen seems to be blinking. Is everything okay, Kalyan, Chaitanya?
Yeah, it looks fine to me.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, guys. So the velocity of outcome is for any input that you have tremendous, something like a 5x or a 10x in terms of programming, reviewing it, everything. There's a tremendous volume that you are able to get. Democratizing of technology is there are no prerequisites that you have in terms of learning. Typically, data science takes about 6 months to a year, but in order for you to use GenAI, if you know the language, if you're able to describe what you want, you are good to go. That's the benefit you get. And the third one is an interesting one. Just like the just-in-time inventory, just-in-time knowledge is becoming an important one, where if you are able to formulate a question, then you are able to get the output. For example, in order for you to get the answer on the matrix, you don't have to know the vector algebra, but if you're able to define what a matrix is, you are able to get the output. So is for any science that you want, whether it is quantum computing or construction engineering, you are able to do that. Okay, so those are the key vectors that you need to keep in your mind. It is typically an artificial intelligence model that is working at the back end. We're able to get new content, text, image, music, or video. Lot of web material. The websites, archive sites are used for training the data. At some level, it is almost like a parrot. Our great philosopher, Noam Chomsky, calls it a stochastic parrot, basically saying that it is a mathematically probabilistic output model that you are getting in. So that's briefly about GenAI. So we already covered that. It is having a variety of capabilities. If you really look at it, it is very different from the AI that we have so far seen, whether it is predictive analytics or the machine learning types, a different type of transformer that we are talking about. Everything gets leveraged into the GenAI, but this is clearly different from the prerequisite that you have in terms of implementing such AI ML model, if you look at it, right? So for entrepreneurs, why is it important? Because it uses transformer and it is able to actually help entrepreneur transform across industry. There are no prerequisites for, whether you are real estate industry, life insurance, or a deep tech that you're talking about, quantum computing, space technology, everything that you are able to effectively manage, if you will, right? And it is able to look at driving innovation and efficiencies in new business model. I talked about blue ocean and moonshot, everything, though you have some idea, but if you want to derive a roadmap and go on a path, you are able to do it effectively. So that is a kind of a initial level introduction, if you will. So it is using something like a generative adversarial network at the back end. I'm briefly telling you about what is going on in the generative AI. It uses variational autoencoder You don't have to know the details, just the outside perspective on that. It has a lot of training data. It has the generative adversarial network where a lot of data, the synthetic data is generated, and the not so good quality is eliminated. So you're able to continuously improve on the quality of output that you are able to get, right? And primarily, it is using a transformer model, and it has a lot of tokens, which is having the attention mechanism. The attention mechanism is not the social media kind of an attention mechanism. It's more like how the tokens are interrelated with each other. It's more like in a language sentence, how are they formed together? For example, if it's a model, there is a lot of difference between the supermodel and the model that is used in the machine learning, if you will. So this kind of attention mechanism between the words is the one that is getting vectorized, if you will. You have pre-tuning and fine-tuning for getting the output that you want to have. You have layers and parameters that is defining, when they talk about whether it is 7 billion for the Mistral 7B or 1 trillion for the latest GenAI tools that we are talking about. You have context embeddings, inference, and adaptability. These are all built into the LLM, if you will. I have given you a YouTube link that explains about how an LLM, which is giving a natural language interface for the user, at the back end, it is completely turned into a tensor problem of something like a 15,000 or 20,000 tuple vector space, if you will. So that's why, all the LLM need the pure GPU. You have NVIDIA leading in the market. There are data centers that are exclusively having GPUs, because for the LLMs and the generative AI, you definitely need the GPUs in effect for you. Okay. So that is briefly about the GenAI engine. So if you look at the landscape, there are a lot of things going on. I'm giving you a capture that is relevant only for our context. So the key GenAI technology is NLP. It's for text generation, chatbot, translation, code generation, code review, testing. Several things are happening in the NLP side. The second is the computer vision, image generation, object recognition. You have the video, you have the audio generation, everything is coming into that. The third part is the generative adversarial network. It is for realizing and creating the synthetic data. So about a year back, data was the problem. Everybody thought, data is going to be very critical. There are compliance issues, challenges with that. But when they were able to figure out, what is known as the fake data, you're able to create celebrity look like from the image. So that's when they realized that they are able to synthesize the data, whether it's for image, sound, or records. They're able to do that, and GRAN engine has been very, very influential. And that is a key point in the GenAI technology. And if you have the sandbox and put it together as a platform, then you're able to create several tools and platforms on that. That's why you're looking at ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Copilot, Meta. Several tools are there. There are about 49 open source LLM tools and GenAI tools are there, and about 400 in general things that are already there. So with this in background, the thing that you need to keep in mind is the emerging trend is multimodal, right? Text, image, audio, video, any input you can get and any output you are able to get. That's a key point about the multimodal and the personalized AI experience. I am able to exactly control the content that I want, the program that I want to do, and innovation that I want to manage and things like that. We are going to cover in detail about ethical consideration and responsible AI development a little bit later on, where with respect to IP, with respect to training data, what data you've been using, a lot of fuzzy areas are there. The creative content writers, the literary content writer, and painters and musicians, a lot of people are fighting as to the impact of generative AI creating content and the touch points where it is actually affecting their livelihood, if you will. Those are challenges that you need to deal with, right? So with this as a GenAI, it's almost like a horizontal. It is affecting everybody, right? So now if it's affecting everybody. What are the opportunities that we look at for the entrepreneurs? They are able to create content that is already given, right? That is already impacting in a very big way, and you are able to personalize the customer experience, and it disrupt the workflow automation in a very big way. So when you look at the RAG, which is a retrieval augmentation generation, graphical RAG, and you have something like a router of our LLMs, uh, enterprise GPT. These are all the ways in which things are going. The latest trend is having an agent APIs, and you are able to do a particular task or operations for you. So those are the one, both at the new product as well as the existing services. You are able to have tremendous influence on that. You are able to streamline the task and improve the efficiency. When you talk about the efficiency in programming or testing or supporting the legacy language, the things that we look at it is just not 2x or 3x. Sometimes it can even do 10x for you. That is where the disruption is really happening. Optimizing the resource allocation for you, improve the decision making. These are all the things that are happening in each of the field, whether it is management or CEO or radiology analysis in the healthcare field or diagnostic for the surgeon. Everywhere it is disrupting. The interesting thing is, in some places it's really good. In some places, we don't call it a mistake, we call it hallucination. It hallucinates. So how do you differentiate between where it is being productive and where it is needing some extra assistance in fixing the errors? That part we will come to that later on. But in terms of opportunities available, it is like fail fast, fail cheap, and improve upon your productivity in an effective manner. If you look at it from the disruptive business model, you are able to focus on the AI-driven marketplace and platform. You can even connect it to quick commerce that is happening. It's a big thing that is in India in a big way. India is a leader in quick commerce. All other people are following us. You can look at subscription-based AI services. Microservices are the innovations from this, and the new revenue stream for AI created content or alternative business model that you will be able to effectively look at it in a new fashion, if you will, right? Um, so coming to the civil construction, which is probably your core competence in such in your area. I have few slides on this. You can put it in different places, right? Designing and planning from AutoCAD to several finite element analysis tools are big into that. AI powered tools are already there. Predictive modeling is there. Automatic blueprint can be generated. That is on the designing and planning. On the construction process, robots are having a big influence. Bricklaying to welding. 3D printing is coming in a different fashion. Chaitanya and I was talking about just before the start of this particular talk. Computer vision for real-time monitoring and safety inspection. Sometimes they even use satellite picture in some kind of monitoring, if you will. Predictive maintenance for construction equipment on the construction process. It is used in the project management for scheduling, resource allocation, risk mitigation, optimization, and improved communication and collaboration. These are some of the things that are already there. When you put AI into the mix, you are able to get a different level of automation and traction and making sure that every piece of it is in a very compliant manner. Optimizing material usage, designing the energy efficient building, and analyzing the environmental impact, developing the metrics. These are all the new direction, to resolve some of the tech debt that is happening in the civil engineering construction that you can look at it, if you will. right? So this is some of the high-level tech trends that are happening in civil engineering part, guys. Some of them you may already know. Building information modeling is very important. Green building material, renewable energy integration, robotics, geographic information system for indoor navigation, and making sure that you have some indoor map for a very large buildings, if you will, modular construction and prefabrication that are happening, structural monitoring and assessment, 3D printing, advanced material, and disaster management are some of the key trends. And what you see on the side is some of the key startups that are working on it. This is taken from Starters Insights. And if you look at it in the broad spectrum, there are about 1,100 startups that are working in this area. That means that, that level of innovation drive is happening in this area. If you look at the spread of the percentage work in the overall trend, it is giving you, depending on where you want to focus. If you want to have follow the money, you should be looking at building information model or green material. But if you are very focused on technology, then advanced material and 3D printing, which is at the 6%, may help you. So it is not only the trend, it is also the percentage of the trend will help you to navigate or help you focus on what area you want to focus into, if you will, right? The next one I had been following a little bit and also helped few companies is the leader scanning. It has been hitting the market quite well, both for the existing building, older building that doesn't have enough information about engineering drawing or the inner infrastructure facilities, maybe water pipeline, electricity, all those things you are able to quickly get it through the leader drawing. It used to be difficult in the past. So there are specific advantage if you are using leader. So some of them I've listed to, spark some thoughts around, what could be useful for you, accurate documentation, visualization, efficient surveying, enhanced design and planning, as-built verification, conservation and restoration. No, these are the areas in which you are able to get the advantage because of leveraging the LiDAR scanning, if you will, because LiDAR is going to play an important role. LiDAR and building and 3D printing is becoming the new point stop for future of the building constructions, if you will, right? And this is a broader level trends that are there in the civil engineering. The blue ones are the one that is indicating that there are some additional information available from BIM to 3D printing to robotics to exoskeletons or the wearables that you will wear to make sure that that you can protect the workers from the injuries. Connected job sites are becoming very, very useful these days. Construction software, smart buildings are in some way it is already there with IoT, but it is also integrated with the generative AI and the construction on that. Modular construction and 3D printed dwellings combined together. IIT Madras has got a startup called Twesta. They have a building within their campus. You can campus. You'll be able to visit their smart homes, connected home, and home analytics are some of the elements that are influencing the construction side. So there are a lot of opportunities that are there in the civil engineering and construction side. So the BIM and 3D printing, I've combined together some material on streamlining the workflow, enhance the accuracy and precision, complex geometries and customization, construction efficiency, improved collaboration that are there. And I've also given some connect of software between them. What are the BIM software or what's the STL format and slicing the software and connecting with the 3D printer are interesting way to look at it. What is interesting in 3D printing with respect to civil engineering is I was talking to Chaitanya before. Typical 3D printers are very small and you are able to build component within that. But in civil engineering, it is the inside out perspective. You use crane and you are able to deposit 3D, the civil construction material on that. So it is slightly different printing capability compared to a typical 3D printer. 3D printer for civil is very different from 3D printer for other manufacturing in the industries, if you will. In the manufacturing, they will call it as additive printing in order to, you take a block and you chip off all the waste, you get the actual material. Whereas if you look at the civil construction building, they are already in the additive assembly manufacturing, if you will. So the 3D printing benefit, you will be able to have a multiplier effect only if you have self-healing construction material. That is another big area that is coming up as well. Okay, so those are the things that are happening, guys. So these are some startups that I wanted to give. I have given some link where there are some good use case story where they have become very, very successful in terms of innovating. So in terms of innovation, there is this thought from Clay Christensen. He's saying big guys cannot innovate because there's no innovation for incentive for them to innovate. It's only the smaller guys who will innovate. The big guys will have to focus more on the business as usual. So it is the innovator's dilemma. It's a very popular topic. You can find and read about it. So that's why, if you look at it as a company or corporate as a whole, you get more and more guys focusing. The startup ecosystem is flourishing. They're able to do more innovation on that, right? Now we come to the third part of the presentation. We are looking at the consideration for the ethical. When you build knowledge, when we build models, it may have some bias and it may have some uh, challenges in terms of hallucinations and things like that. We have to make sure that our AI models have reasonably diverse data, identify bias, and you are able to remove the bias from the model, if you will. And transparency and explainability is important because we can't, when you want to say it becomes a black box for us when the algorithm is very complicated, whether in terms of credit card rating that you talk about, you should be able to predict and say, here is how I arrived at it. If it is really complex, then it becomes very difficult for us to judge whether there is fairness in that and things like that. These are very complex area, but however, in terms of building capability, we need to have transparency and explainability done within that. Data privacy and security becomes very important because we're using people's data. So if that becomes a challenge, that you need to move on to the synthetic data part of it. Even in synthetic data, some core data, if you're using it, and if you're using it from one person or a corporation, then we need to probably tell them that we've used that, and typically when the automation happen, there's potential concern for AI replacing human job, whereas the positive spin on that is, AI augmenting the human. So we need to figure out as to, if we can have at least, 1/3 of the 8 billion population, about 2 billion people is able to have a job, becomes an ethical responsibility for us to do that, if you will, right? So at this point in time, we need to get familiar with two things. One is the blue ocean, another is a moonshot. Blue ocean is, the new market generation. Somebody like AWS creating cloud computing is a blue ocean. It was not existing before. They are able to do that. So every market, every product or services may have a blue ocean. So what is a blue ocean strategy? How to create the market? How to generate a value innovation in that? Develop a proportion for it and make sure that we create a demand curve and build a sustainable business model. Something like a Cirque du Soleil is also a blue ocean. So what we will be able to do is to use generative AI to explore all these blue ocean, if you will. And similarly, moonshot, it's very ambitious. If you look at something like a driverless autonomous car or a EV, electric vehicle replacing the internal combustion engine, or totally outside the box thinking, or even putting 1 million people in Mars is a moonshot. And similarly, every other area has a moonshot potential, and we can identify that. We can look at developing that, and we can pursue our goal along that direction. Many of the space startups that is from India, there are about 100 of them, and about 3 or 4 of them are unicorns. Just yesterday, I think, the E-plane company got a $14 million. Satya Chakrabarti is the advisor for that. He's got about 10, 15 space startup on that. So at some level, if you want to really think big, and how to think big, how to make it realize, it's still possible. GenAI, use GenAI for that. Embrace bold vision, think long term, and faster collaboration. You can even think of something like space weather, trying to find out solar storm, when is it going to happen, levels, make sure that the bit flipping is not happening. Those kind of things as well are happening. That is, it's a little bit off the track, but I think, we can find an equivalent in the constructive area, if you will, right? The third element that is very important in these days in the generative AI is cross-discipline. You are able to take mathematics or physics or chemistry and apply in the context that you are setting in. It could be startup, it could be civil engineering, it could be pharma, several things that could be happening. So what we need to understand is the power of the convergence, and make sure that you are able to connect the dots between two different systems, if you will, and creating the synergy, explore the emerging field, attend the cross-discipline activities, foster culture and collaboration on that. That helps you to do this in an effective fashion, right? So this building a startup, you guys may be already aware of that, but this is more like, connecting the dot, identify the problem, validate your data, use the generative AI for each of the milestone, if you will, build the minimum viable product. It's not the prototype. The current industrial thinking is at minimum level, you should be able to use it. If you want to do a transportation, then bicycle is the MVP. Your motored vehicle is the end product, if you will. So those are the points you need to look at it. Have a talented team, secure funding, go-to-market strategy, or the typical GenAI startup, if you will. Now, on the generative AI side, I wanted to look at the outside in perspective, if you will, right? So what you see on the various boxes here is the text is the text output, and the final font that you see at the bottom is the model, right? In order for you to create text in marketing or AI assistant or sales or the individual boxes that you see, you will be able to use the model. It's very different from typical software development. In software development, requirement, detailed specification, software development, testing, and deployment. Whereas in generative AI or the future of data application, if you will, it is more like data, curated data, test data, define the model, and then test the model, fine-tune the parameters and deploy it. It's so very different from the software development. That's why you need to be looking at it from a text. You are able to give a text output, video output, image output, code. You can see development, SQL, gamification. There are several things. That's why they call this technology a singularity point. If you are able to define what you want, you may be able to create speech, 3D objects, gamification, or image, static image, video, audio, any tool output, even CNC machine output, you will be able to generate in a very effective manner. So this particular landscape is telling you about the area that you will be able to create output and the models that you will be able to effectively use, because all the solution is already done in terms of pre-training them. You need to fine tune it, or you need to use RAG in order to improve the accuracy, people. So this one is more like the new stack, if you will, right? This is like almost like a cloud picture, but the outcome is different. You have the chips like NVIDIA, AMD at the top, cloud services, And look at the middle one. This is where cloud platform as a service will be there, where you have a foundational model, text LLM, image model, video model, audio models, tools are there. And the application is slightly different, You are not looking at code. It is almost like a low code, no code generation. Text focused one, image and audio focused one. And you have from generative search all the way up to knowledge management, video generation, music, audio generation. It covers every other application that you are talking about. So what is the future of application architecture? We will see it in a minute. I want you to think about it. That's why I have this. Which industry is interested in this? Which industry is not interested in that? That's how you have the spread. You have the countries that are covering all of them. So that's very interesting as well, right? So this is the view stack, if you will. And what I have is an indication on the top, you have the various applications for using the generative AI. On the bottom, you have various models that are there in the market. OpenGPT-3, DeepMind, Facebook GPT are the models that you're looking at it. So when you say text, it is text to text, text to code, text to image, text to speech, video, 3D, and other. So that's why, it's everything is having a tremendous influence on that. So this one is the Anderson Horowitz view on what is the future of the application, because you don't need a 3-tier or a 4-tier or any type of new architecture coming in. So you can have something like a ChatGPT or Gemini interface, whatever you want, it can be queried and you will be able to get the output. When you get the output, it could be connected to a database or an image or a video or audio. The output can be stitched together and you will be able to generate it. Should it be using only one LLM or multiple LLM? Should you have cache? Should you have LangChain? Should you have RAG in that? All of that is architecturally captured in that. So this is a bedtime read for you. This is the emerging application stack according to the Anderson Horowitz. One other point they are saying is, because you don't have multiple components, the security is much more stable. You don't have database or web server or other application getting exposed to other people or perpetrators attack on that. So this is a much better security, if you will, for some people. So the legends are there. If you have some questions, ask me later on. And next one is, that in that case, so do we do programming, or what is going to be the whatever it is allowing you to generate the productive output, whether it is code or strategy or machine code or any of the integration code, all these things becomes a important one as well, right? So this one is about prompt engineering. Why is it becoming important? How you are able to do it effectively is what is covered here, if you will. Okay. And that is briefly about what it is, guys. And I'll take another quick 2 or 3 minutes to tell you about the appendix content that I have. This is more like a huge bedtime reading again. So generative AI, how is it put together? It's a Gartner radar, if you will. It has model related, performance related, build and data related, application related. Look at it. Extremely useful in terms of identifying the technology, right? These are various LLM that are popular and available in the market. Look at it. And what are the, what is that actually you can do it in the enterprise level is covered here. So this is very effective in terms of identifying what you will be able to do with respect to generative AI, if you will. So normally people will say, oh, these are all fine with respect to the technology level talk, but have people have implemented? Are there some real productive number that we talk about? So here are the two graphs that is given by McKinsey in terms of the functionality at the top, and on the left hand side you have the vertical industry, and the deeper blue is the one that is telling you about the impact of generative AI leverage in those functionality, and gives you number in terms of the market size and where you can find and things like that. So it helps you in terms of identifying which target that you will be able to focus and continue on that, if you will. Right? Some sample prompting I am giving because you will be able to experience on that. And example use cases I have given for various sectors. And prompt again I have given for a few things. And I given resources for generative AI and for civil engineering related resources as well I have given. Okay, so these are all the things that you will be able to look at it. And finally, I have something known as the construction 4.0 is widely talked about, and what is going on in there in terms of robotics, 5G cloud, and in terms of the blockchain, 4D printing, digital twin, what is happening is covered in that. There are 3 or 4 block diagrams that is working on it. The last one I want to impress upon the physicality and the digital connectivity is well organized and represented. And this again is useful from the civil engineering perspective. So with this aspect of it, I want to close my presentation. I keep the 10 minutes or 15 minutes for any of the question answer. I've also created a podcast about this particular presentation. I've shared my presentation as well. So with this, let me stop the sharing and keep the floor open for any of the question people may have.
Thanks, Murali. Very interesting and you covered a lot of ground, starting from the basics of GenAI all the way to ethics and different things of how entrepreneurs can leverage AI. So one question, Murali, that comes before anyone else I mean, if anyone has questions, please do raise your hands. But I just had one question to touch upon to start with. So when we say that building a solution or building something, for entrepreneurs to do startups in Gen AI space or in AI in general, how do these products, how do they differentiate? Because now everyone has access to the models that are there. Everyone has access to different data sets that are there, right? Most of these startups are leveraging or building on top of existing models. So how do they differentiate in order to stand out? Otherwise, what we see is we will see wrappers of the models, and they get disrupted very fast the moment these models come up with a new upgrade or a new version. So how can they differentiate their startups to stay alive and not get crushed by a new update of ChatGPT or a new update of Claude?
That's a good question. I think the larger LLM model is focusing on a generic problem. But if you look at some of the initiative at the vertical side, for example, healthcare is trying to build their own LLM model, right? And the bank, the financial area, Bloomberg has got their own model, Bloomberg GPT, FinTech GPT is there. Why are the people building their own GPT? Because the way the language, for example, legal, if you look at it, the generic one, the attention mechanism and the vector that we talk about, the way things are put together, it may lack accuracy in terms of giving you the correct answer for you. So there are several mechanisms by which you can handle that. One is the fine tuning that may help, and the RAG may help in terms of making sure that your queries are accurate with respect to your document, if you will, right? But if you want a larger problem to be addressed or managed, then you need to develop your own LLM, right? That is on one side. On the other side, you have these IoTs and new technologies coming up. You need to deliver capabilities at the edge. So you have edge AI requirement as well. So somebody like Gwen is having an LLM that you can go into a phone or a smartphone, if you will, right? So these kind of things that are happening. So I would say, depending on their overall capability, either they want to build a generic LLM or enterprise grade LLM, or at the B2C edge LLM. So there are a lot of spaces that are available. So if you are able to carve out your niche, you will be able to find a good marketplace for you. I hope I answered your question.
Psychology class. Papa is doing
Got it.
BA.
Got it, Murli. But this brings me to another question. Till someone asks a question, and this is also related to what you just said.
Okay, I want to PhD.
Someone's on
mute.
Yeah.
But the pool.
Okay. So what I was saying is that I mean, in one of the recent talks, Nandan Nilekani said that they let the large guys create LLMs. India should focus on creating solutions and products for its people. How much do you agree with that thought, or do you think, like you just mentioned, building niche LLMs would help and all that? So what is your take on his statement, and what do you think is right, or is the right way to take for Indian entrepreneurs? Is it use the existing models, let the big guys with all the cash create LLMs, or do you think there should be someone taking that initiative to build LLMs or models in India for India, and which also touches on the AI for Bharat that you have, which I would like you to talk about.
Okay. So that is a very complex question, Chaitanya, because when you look at it from the value for humanity, there may be some value in building our own LLM. But is there money in it? I don't know, right? But if you look at it from entrepreneur's direction, you need to probably track or follow the money. In which case, it will be prudent to leverage the LLM and look at the service capability of an individual. Those two are the split that I see right now. But if you look at the opportunity available for India, I would say that we are at a singularity point. There are no prerequisites for anybody to be able to contribute in any field that you want, right? I think that is a huge uptake for everybody, right? So that is the one that we need to be leveraging. And just like the, I think 1990s and 2000 IT boom, you will have generative AI prompt engineering based service sector boom that is happening. I think we should be focusing on that in order to empower us economically. That is one thread somebody need to provide the leadership, I think. So for our own market, for our needs, people may want to invest in that, but they always have their business model being successful or being, they want to make money out of it and things like that. For example, I think, India has something like a Kisan GPT for our farmers. I think that's a good one. For example, space tech, quite a few people are leading into that. And if you want to create a space weather or low Earth orbit related LLMs or manufacturing related for MSME, those are good things, right? Should you do fine tuning or LLM? Maybe we'll do the fine tuning and RAG at first, and then we will go on to LLM, maybe one other way to do. We need a multi-pronged approach. It's not an ideological one. It has to be more of a, I'm really hungry for it. I want to develop these capabilities and solution. Will take us a long way, I think, Chaitanya.
Understood. I completely agree and with your perspective, I think, which is very interesting because I mean, as you said, entrepreneurs should focus where the money goes, especially in our economic situation and scenario. Does anyone have any questions? If so, please feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask the question. So another question I have, meanwhile others come up with questions, and this is very pertinent to Indian ecosystem in general about AI. So are there any incentives, policies, or anything that is favoring or in support of AI startups in India by the Indian government or by the local authorities? Because we do see news coming out of 10,000 crores of investment in AI. So what do you see? How can Indian startups leverage to help them either kickstart or maybe take off from where they are today?
There has been intent to support AI from all directions, from state level, from central government level. It is all there. But I think, it may have some wrinkles when you get closer. But in terms of global approach, if you look at when it is NVIDIA or somebody like AMD or Google or Microsoft, everybody is looking to India as a major resource in terms of providing people support. That is a interesting aspect, I would think, right? Uh, that is one way to look at it. The second way to look at Chaitanya is India is number 3 globally in startup. Right? First being US, second is China, third is India. Now, it's not even Japan or somebody, UK in the third place, right? We have a very strong startup ecosystem. We have 100 plus unicorns. That means, 100 times an idea is evaluated for $1 billion or more. We had also had some mishaps. Somebody like Biju is having tough time now, right? But in terms of understanding the ecosystem, delivering the solution, making sure what the investor wants, I think we are very good at it. So I think, these are the ecosystem that is getting nurtured both from central and state government. It could be a little bit of hardship for entrepreneurs to go through the wrinkles, but it is much better than say 20 years before, where you want to start a company, it's very difficult for you. You need collateral, and in order for you to make money, it's very difficult. Those are not the scenario now. So I think in terms of starting a startup, motivating for starting some new solution, looking at tracking new technology, we are in a good time. So while I talk about GenAI, there is another technology like a tsunami, it's coming right behind that, is quantum computing. So very similar to GenAI, a lot of people are talking about quantum. The central, we have a quantum mission. There is computing, there is sensors, there is error correction. There are 5 or 6 areas. There are plenty of opportunities there, and it will converge into GenAI. So I think we need to embrace technology, and that is going to help us in terms of building the future. And in that, space technology is also there, and in that, I think I'm riding on Elon Musk goal. 1 million people in Mars by 2050, and that is going to create a lot of job. And even 8 billion people in Earth is not sufficient to do all those services. We obviously need automation. We obviously need engineering, agents. Everything is needed. Even whatever we have is not sufficient. We need to really rapidly improve all our capabilities.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Hi, Chaitanya. Hi, Murali. Prasoon here.
Hi, Prasoon.
So I have a question for Murali. What kind of demand do you see on AI implementation in the private sector in India, and what kind of demand do you foresee from the government in the construction sector?
Okay. So the industrial analyst perspective is one angle, Prasoon. If you look at somebody like McKinsey or Gartner, they are giving a very positive number. For example, top line, they split it into top line and bottom line, and McKinsey is saying productivity is high, and productivity, if you adapt GenAI, it is like 80% increase for every individual. It's not going by sector, right? So those are good things that you look at it. But the challenge that the industry may have is the bottom line is technology is not attracting or is not helping to enable or adapt technology. The top line need to increase, actually. So from that perspective, if you look at it, um, what is happening for the people who are already there, the big guys they are looking for return of investment, and they are not able to find that. I think, if they are able to imagine, expand their vision to the new kind of ROI, which is return on intelligence, because the AI is preceded on intelligence that you are building, and it is able to create value, and it is able to improve your productivity and efficiency. it's slightly long term, not very long term. I'm not looking at 3 or 4 years, instead of 3 months, it may be 6 months for you to realize the value. So I think, if you are able to embrace technology, and many of
Yeah,
the industrial
I mean,
analyst reports support as well.
theoretically, what you're saying is correct. What I feel, and I'm not, sure if that's the experience others have. The practical demand of implementing AI in construction management doesn't seem to be very aggressive, at least in India, where they say, "Oh, do you have something?" Because as a foundation, as a fundamental, the digital transformation is a tad behind than the other parts of the world, especially the western part of the world.
Understood. Yes, that is there. But if you look at something like a BIM or not 3D printing, I don't think we are ready for 3D printing, but BIM is definitely there. The digitalization or digital twin, you may be able to absorb the technology in a better fashion. But somebody need to provide leadership. Maybe a startup uh, ecosystem looking at the gaps. Even the big company like L&T may have a startup ecosystem, allow people to innovate, and then probably enable that. But the problem with that is, in the past, it has not been proven effective. So it may have to come from outside person.
Correct.
I hope I
Yeah,
answered
and
the question.
Prasanna, even I think on the construction management part, when we talk about AI, I think that value that he mentioned, right, Murali mentioned, ROI, that is something because I've spoken to quite a few startups and they are all talking that, okay, we want to integrate AI, but there's no customer to pay for it. So
Exactly.
I believe that that payment part is going to be a problem to solve as to how you make the customer realize that value.
And
And maybe
and practically, as we are moving forward, I believe AI is more like becoming more essential for any company to have. So nobody is going to pay a premium for
exactly,
AI. It is a default requirement they would expect from any product or service that you will be
exactly.
incorporating that. So it's
Exactly. I mean, that should be a differentiator in the experience rather than as an add-on premium.
so I don't think so that market will pay premium for anything AI that you
Exactly.
offer to them.
No, that is a
It is
good point, Prasun. You can't look at because it is AI service, instead of $30, it is $50. That's not going to happen.
correct.
It should be more like, I can do it for $15, I can do it 2x or a 3x. If you're able to say that,
Correct.
then you will be able to connect very well, I think. And I
Oh.
think if it's GenAI, you may be able to do it. See, the problem with the yesteryear AI is they were relying on models, analytics, and they put a premium value to that. And if they try to encash that, there is no money. I can tell you right away,
Hmm.
right?
Correct.
It has to be a generative AI. Yeah, because most of the construction site or engineers there, they will be able to leverage Gen AI person. That there's no problem. They will be able to see even the value in that, right? But if somebody comes in and say, I have a model, I will tell you, I will create a finite element analysis for you, pay me some extra money, that people will think twice about it.
And just to add to what Chaitanya was saying earlier, that I think a practical approach is to clear an app to create application layers, over current models, and go
Correct.
out there and start creating value. And then as we move forward in the future, as Murali said, it's a very complex decision to make whether you should have your own AI or industry specific AI. But I think the current models offer enough for us to create an application layer over them and create some value in the overall construction management.
So, Prasun, I'll share something with you, and I'm doing it for the university. I hope we are okay with the time taken here.
Sure.
Sure, sure.
So normally the classes are 30 or 40, right? I did one for SRM, which is 120. It's a classroom, right? And we did a GenAI for that. Now they want to do it across for all students. Okay. Now, if you want to, hold on one second. Now, if you want to do it, let's say for 10,000 students, okay. Now, how do I price it in a way that is optimum for them as well as for me, right? So that opportunity, that scalability I can do. Why do I need to do that? There are umpteen number of videos that are there. Andrew Ying is there, right? There are somebody like Udemy is there, Coursera is there. In spite of that, they want somebody like me to help them out. So those kind of opportunities are there if you are able to scale, and if you are not looking at something like charging 4,000 rupees for every student, there is an opportunity. Even if I do it for 500 rupees a student, which is very nominal for them to understand about GenAI to enable, then it becomes a much more efficacy solution. So I think, we need to be creative about model. We need to be creative about scaling up the solution, amortizing the cost. We need to provide value to the customer, not in terms of paper value. It has to be a real value. I know that's why you'll be able to connect. I hope it makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Great. So I think we are at the end of the hour, but if there is any other questions, please feel free. Else, Murali, if you can share your contact, I will share this presentation that you have. I'll share it with the attendees here and with the community in large. So I think so that they can reach and get in touch with you if they have any questions on the presentation or in general. But thank you so much, Murali, for taking the time, and thanks, Prasun, for the question. I think it ended up in a very right manner, putting out the main crucial point about our industry and GenAI in general for the Indian base.
Chaitanya, I just have a suggestion.
Yes,
if you
please.
want to create a WhatsApp group for this, please
Mhm.
create it. And I track technologies, so anything related to construction, I will post it there. If people have questions, I'm more than happy to support them on any question they may have.
Sure. Yeah, there is one community that I'm part of, which is AI in AEC, which is very, very large group globally. Happy to include you into that space, so you can always discuss anything related to construction. And if there's anyone else who wants to join that, let me know, and I can bring you guys on that group.
Absolutely. We'll be happy to. Very, very,
Sure.
thank you very much, guys. I'm very happy
Thanks.
to.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time, and thanks for the time.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.